free speech in our country. I'm going to show you footage from Brisbane yesterday that you won't believe. Also a warning, one photo that some people might find disturbing. Chris Elston is known online as Billboard Chris. Huge following. He's a Canadian who for 4 years has campaigned against giving children chemicals to stop puberty so they can later change, supposedly, their gender. But what I have actually found most interesting about Billboard Chris is how people of the left react to a guy who's simply just standing there with his billboard waiting for a conversation. He's not in your face, he's not screaming. The intolerance to him is absolutely extraordinary, very telling. Angry leftists mobbing him, abusing him, kicking him, assaulting him with traffic cones. In Melbourne, in his previous tour, shouting him down.
I came here from Canada just to talk to you.
You're not welcome
Just to talk to you.
Go back to Canada.
I'm not going anywhere.
Well, Billboard Chris is now back in Australia for a court case to overturn a decision by our anti-free speech e-safety commissioner, Julie Inman-Grant, who she wanted to force X, and she did, to take down a post criticising the World Health Organization for appointing to an expert panel an Australian woman, now identifying as a man after surgery, who Chris described, yes, a little offensively. But yesterday, ahead of this court case, Billboard Chris decided to chance his arm standing quietly in Brisbane's Queen Street Mall until suddenly police and a council worker accused him of obstructing people. Have a look yourself. Which people? Watch this farce.
Obstructing or unreasonably disturb any person lawfully using a mall.
Okay, so I've been told that my prohibited activity is that I'm obstructing or unreasonably disturbing any person lawfully using a mall.
Correct.
I have absolutely done no such thing. I was standing quietly.
Cool. You should get a job and, move on with your life,
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Example of
I
things
have
that
not done
obstruct
this.
users of the mall. This is because you're in this area.
So this guy that just came up to harass me, he's using that as an example of me obstructing people.
Now, Billboard Chris refused to move, given he was clearly not obstructing people, so it got worse.
Are you going to leave the area?
I'm not leaving.
So, as you've been directed, obviously I'm acting Sergeant Jill Shandle from Brisbane City Police Station, so you've been directed that you need to leave, well, stop doing what you're doing because you're currently obstructing the mall area, which has its laws that do not permit this activity. Okay, so we would now require you to leave the area. Okay? Are you going to leave the area?
So I've read the law, and I'm being told that I was obstructing people from their movement, which is not true. And I'm not disturbing anyone. I stand quietly, having conversations with people who approach me. And so I don't believe I'm in violation of that.
You are obstructing people, okay? So at this
How am I obstructing people?
It's been explained to you, okay?
Oh, that
So,
was a lie, but
do you want to grab your things and leave?
No, I'm not leaving.
Okay.
So we now have the power
to arrest you.
And sure enough, Billboard Chris was arrested. Welcome, Chris, to Australia, land of free speech. Joining me is Billboard Chris. Chris, thank you so much for your time. What did yesterday tell you about Australia?
Well, I think, first of all, I love Australia. I love the people, and I get so much support out on the streets. People see a lot of the negativity because those videos go viral. But more than 90% of the people had a lot of love for what I was doing, and they support my mission to try to stop this child abuse. But there's certainly a bit of a nanny state going on in Australia. Censorship is much higher than back home in Canada, where I'm from. And we should be able to have conversations about anything in society, but when children are coming to permanent harm, those are conversations we especially need to have. And what was really telling about that incident yesterday was I was told I was the only person they have ever done this to on that public street, in that foot traffic mall area, yet all sorts of other people have held signs there. They don't do anything to them. ultimately this is because of my message, which is rather anodyne. It's not that offensive. I simply have a sign that says children cannot consent to puberty blockers, which is just about the most true statement you will ever hear.
And you weren't charged either. What does that tell you?
Right. So they did take off my signs. They forcibly removed me, and then they released me because I think, and I know this from experience, I've dealt with police probably 300 times. I know that the vast majority of them agree with me. There's no such thing as a child born in the wrong body. The positive message we should be sending is that our kids are beautiful just as they are. No drugs or scalpels needed. But I think these police officers felt they were in a bind and they didn't really have a choice but to support this lying council worker. So I'm a man of integrity, as I said in my video yesterday, and I couldn't in good conscience bow down to this overzealous use of authority. And I think we have to take a stand, and we have to stand up for what's right. And I'm here standing up for the kids. I'll be representing the truth in a hearing next week, a 5-day hearing for a single tweet. So this is a fight for freedom of speech for Australians, and I think it would be rather hypocritical for me not to stand up for freedom of speech myself when I'm out there on the streets.
In defence of the council worker, he might have had no option but to do what he had to do, and I don't think his heart was in it, so I'm not going to call him names at all. But here's the thing, you know, to your point, pro-Palestinian protesters have held a sit-down in that very same mall that you were accused of obstructing traffic. They've even marched through it, causing all kinds of obstruction. You could barely move if you weren't part of that mob. None of them arrested that I know of. Do you feel picked on?
No, I don't have a victimhood mentality where I ever feel picked on. This is just the state of the world today. Sometimes things are upside down, and what is bad is labeled good, what is good is labeled bad, and that's the situation with this. A lot of people have been deceived. But I'm just going to keep doing what I do. I don't approach people. I stand there quietly. It's like fishing. I stand there and I wait for someone to approach me and have a conversation. I set up my tripod out of the way on the side by a pole. I stood there quietly. The council worker actually came up to me and he lied. He said that I'd been obstructing people's movement. He repeatedly said that I was infringing upon their movements. He said I'd stopped someone. But I record every minute of my time out there because I'm used to people lying about me. I also have to defend myself from attacks, and a camera is a good way to do that. But I'm just going to keep having one conversation at a time because it's working. And today I'm reaching millions of people every day, and we are putting a stop to this in various jurisdictions all across the globe.
Well, Chris, I really support you in this fight against the E-Safety Commissioner. She's been trying through some means that are, in fact, some criticised by tribunals, to stifle free speech on the internet. I think your case is an important one. And I'm glad that you've come back all the way from Canada to fight it. So we will be keeping a very close eye on that one as well. Thank you so much for your time, Chris Elston.